What's up, everybody? Welcome to Human Innovation Tarot. My name is Eddie with Imagine Life Development Center, and I'm going to be doing a 1010 portal collective reading. If you're new to my channel, I greatly appreciate if you would like, share, comment, subscribe, all of the things. And we are going to jump in. And this reading is going to be a little bit different. So for those of you that are not aware or whatever you follow, whatever you don't follow. So the 1010 portal this year is going to be a little bit different. We have, for those of you who follow astrology, we have Pluto, which is moving back into Aquarius. Pluto is what's known as a generational planet. It only transits or moves through the signs once every about 250 years. So, there'll be 2 or 3 generations after us before Pluto moves into Gemini. Wait, not Gemini. Aquarius. I guess it's Aries, right? No. Pisces. How can I get my zodiac straight? Anyways. Should be Pisces. Aquarius, Pisces. Yeah. So it'll move into Pisces, and then it'll be there for 250 years, and then it'll move into Aries. So anyways. So we have Pluto moving into Aquarius, which is why we're experiencing a lot of the crazy stuff that we're experiencing right now in the world. We also have Jupiter that just went retrograde in Capricorn. There's just a lot of things going on right now. Okay, a lot of intense energy. So what is the point of, or the purpose of this collective reading is to set the tone of what to expect the rest of the year. Okay, so that's what we're going to be looking at. So this reading essentially will give you a snapshot of what you can expect between now and the end of 2024 and kind of going into 2025. So let's just kind of jump in and see what comes out. All right, so we have the first card out is we have Libra, which is funny. We're in Libra season currently. So happy birthday to all the Libras out there. Your energy is on the table. So if you are a Libra or you have Libra placements in your astrological chart, there is a message here for you. We also have the 10th house. So pay attention to your 10th house. Doesn't matter what your sign is. Just pay attention to anything in your 10th house. Anything. And then we have Chiron. So pay attention to where the planet Chiron shows up in your chart as well, especially if it shows up in the 10th house or if it is aspecting Libra in one way or another. Okay, so this is just to give you an idea, if these apply to you. If you're familiar with your astrology, your personal astrology chart, then this reading may resonate with you. So it's just confirmation. And then at the bottom of the deck, we have Pisces. Okay. So if you're a Pisces or you have Pisces placements, that information could be relevant for you. All right. So now we're going to just kind of jump into whatever basically wants to come out. So this could apply to love. This could apply to career. This could apply to any part of your life. I have no idea what's going to come out. It's just whatever comes out. All right. So as always, I feel like this is pretty self-explanatory, but for some of you, it may not be. I don't know. But obviously take what resonates for you. If any part of this reading doesn't resonate for you, it's fine. It just means that this particular reading is not your reading. But there's probably going to be something in here that will. So, you may want to stick around for the entirety of the whole thing if you feel like it. So, and we're just getting started here, but I'm going to try to go through this quickly, but in, in a, what's the word I want to use? I want to make sure that I get you guys the information that you need to know, but I don't want to camp out on any one element for too long, because I have a sense that there's a lot of information that, your higher self, your spirit, your guides, God, source, the universe, whatever you believe in, wants to get to you, because we're actually in a very important time right now. So first of all, we have the 7th chakra, which is the crown chakra. Okay. So we're starting off here. The number 41 may be significant to you, for those of you that pay attention to that. So the crown chakra is basically where we get all of our downloads, basically, right? It's when our crown chakra is open, then we're open to receiving communication from our higher selves, the universe, the collective, whatever you believe in here. So some of you have a spiritual calling on your life, whether you realize it or not. And your whole life has been leading and guiding you up to this moment in time that seems very chaotic. It may seem a little bit like a shit show. If you're like me, I'm only 43 years old. And looking back over the timeline of my life, I can see with clarity that my entire life has been leading me and guiding me to this weird, bizarre Twilight Zone moment that we're all living in here, called the year 2024, right? And I think anybody that has any level of conscious awareness, like, unless you're just completely clueless, you're completely distracted, like, I'm talking like you're completely shut down, turned off, you have no spiritual awareness whatsoever. Like, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to realize that the world that we live in now, in this moment today, is very, very different than even just a few years ago, right? Like, I would say starting at like 2020 to where we are now, it's like, I what's the word? It's almost like we have gone into this like hyper, I don't know, like almost like a hyper, this like we get sucked into some type of like portal or something. I don't even know how to describe it, where it's like the world that we knew, or the one that I was aware of, the one that I grew up in, the one that seemed like, just a normal world, if we want to call it that. That world no longer exists. And we've been sucked into this weird Twilight Zone. I don't know, like a Bermuda Triangle or some weird shit that we're stuck into now, where it's almost comical if it wasn't real. You know what I mean? It's like every day there's this new crazy, bizarre thing that's really real, but it's almost comical. And so anyways, all that to say is that if you understand what I'm saying, even despite my inability to articulate it very well, then this is you. This reading is for you, because you have a calling on your life. Your whole life has been leading you up to this pivotal moment in time, because you incarnated for such a time as this. You have a purpose to fulfill something. You have a spiritual gift, a talent, a calling, a destiny, whatever word you want to use. And the universe is now trying to awaken you to the fullness of the path and the journey and the destiny that you incarnated here for. That's what this 7th chakra card is all about. And so if you're somebody who's been listening to other readings, other people, talking about whatever portal it is, we had the 8-8 portal, we have this portal, we have that portal, all these portals, right? Which, if we take the woo-woo out of it, we take the spiritual bullshit out of it, and we just look at it in a practical, rational way, and that's not to diminish the spiritual component of it, But, sometimes spirituality hijacks things and over spiritualizes them in a way where if you lean too much on that side of the pendulum, then it's disempowering. It's not useful information, right? So that's how I filter all information through my own spiritual awareness. Is like, is this empowering me? Is it beneficial to me? Is it helping me? Am I becoming a better person as a result of this information in my life? Or is it keeping me powerless? Does it, make me a victim? Does it co-sign my own victimness, my own powerlessness, my own my own patterns, or my refusal to stand up or step up or become the person I need to become to have the life that I feel inside of me that I incarnated to experience? Because if you're not willing to take personal responsibility or personal accountability for your existence, the reason that you incarnated, then you are a powerless person, right? And so if we strip away all the bullshit, it boils down to two things. Are you a powerful person, which to me is true spirituality? You are a spirit functioning in this reality. That's what spirituality is. How aware are you of your spirit's reality in this false matrix existence? You're in a playground. You're in a computer program, a simulation. You are a spirit inside of an avatar here to have a bunch of experiences. But are you utilizing those experiences? Are you maximizing your power to get the experiences that you incarnated to have, right? Are you owning your power, or are you giving your power away to forces outside of yourself, whether that's love, career, money, materialism, capitalism, all of those types of things, right? Like in my experience, until people go through their own personal spiritual awakening, we have a tendency to remain in powerlessness. And we're raised that way. We're raised to depend on our parents. We're raised to depend on our guardians, our authorities. Listen to your teachers when you're in school. Listen to your boss when you go to work. You have to follow the rules, the laws, the government. Like, we're taught that, money comes from outside of you. Love comes from outside of you. Acceptance comes from outside of you. Your self-worth is given to you by others. It's not generated from within you. You don't determine your own self-worth. You don't determine whether you are good enough for you. You determine whether you're good enough based on whether people think you're good enough for them. Right? And so if there's all this there's these backwards paradigms and this backwards thinking that we go through as spiritual beings having a physical experience. So that's what spirituality is, right? It's knowing that you are a spiritual being having a physical experience, but it goes a step further. It's knowing what your calling is, what your responsibility is as the spiritual being having the physical experience, because you didn't just incarnate here to have a Partridge Family, white picket fence existence. If you're watching this reading, I can guarantee you, if you're here and you're listening to me and you haven't clicked off this, you haven't gone off to go do something else, if you're still listening to me give you this reading, then you're not, you're not a young soul that incarnated here just to experience what it's like to be in this reality. And some people have, and that's okay. There are people who have incarnated here with the soul, the purpose of their existence is to just be in this matrix and experience it for what it is. They came here to have a job. They came here to know what it's like to be in a physical body. They incarnated here to know what it's like to, be a parent, to have a house and just enjoy the five senses, right? Those are younger souls, right? But those of you who are older souls, you have a calling, a spiritual calling, and you're being called now because the time is now because of what we've incarnated to do. And what I've realized is there's a lot more people in the spiritual community, if you want to call it that are becoming aware of the fact that, holy shit, I have a calling on my life, and there's something more to my existence than what I thought. And the last 4 years have really awakened that within me, from 2020 till now. So this weird, bizarre Twilight Zone existence that we're all going through is not a coincidence. It's part of the experience that is meant to serve as a collective awakening. So that's what this card stands for. All that to say that this card stands for collective awakening, collective experience, you waking up, you realizing that you have a calling, you have a purpose beyond the ordinary average human being. Okay. Now, what is it? Where does that lead us? That leads us here, because that infiltrates all areas of our life, great or small, right? On the macro, the microcosmic level and the macrocosmic level. So we have door to personal healing and happiness. So many of you, myself included, have been going through a drought, right? And so there's a season, a drought, where life, your desires, your fulfillment, and the life that you've desired to maybe manifest or create has not been your reality or the existence that you're having. And that's for many of us right now, right? So despite your spiritual knowledge, despite your best attempts, despite, all the things, it seems like no matter what you do, you have not been able to manifest or create the reality or the outcomes that you seek, even though you're highly intuitive, you're very spiritual, you understand all the spiritual concepts inside and out. You know about the law of attraction. You know about manifestation. You've done these things in the past. You've served, all this isn't new to you. You're not in kindergarten. You've mastered these things, or at the very least, you have a lot of proficient experience in them. Things that you used to do in the past that worked for you, that got you a result, that got you an outcome, stopped working all of a sudden, or so it seems, right? And so, and the reason that is it not because you've messed up or you're doing things incorrectly or you're doing things wrong. It's that there are times, so for example, for those of you that are familiar with the way that the tarot is laid out, right? You have the 22 major arcana, and then you have the 56 minor arcana, right? So we know that there are certain things in life that we can control and certain things in life that we can't control, right? And so we have been in this tunnel for the last 4 years, basically. We've been in this tunnel of a transition, basically. And when we've been in this tunnel, there are pockets, there are moments in which the things that we've done, the things that we've mastered, the things that we understand, the things that we've conquered will work. There are other times when they haven't worked. And that's on purpose because we need to be shown what is intended for the new era, the new, the new world, the new earth, the Pluto moving into Aquarius, for those who understand what that means. This whole new world that we're moving into, a whole new cycle, a whole new fractal, we're being shown what things we're supposed to be left behind because they're not intended to move into the future versus the things that we're meant to retain that are intended to go into the future. And so it takes a level of spiritual awareness to start to see, it's like, okay, well, if these things aren't working in my life, it's probably because they need to be left behind. It doesn't matter if it worked all for the last 20 years for you and you've been able to produce results with it again and again and again and again and again, right? It's just like technology and software. If if one of the major companies, forces a new software update, if they force it to roll out to everybody and you have an old device that's not using the new software update, then that device doesn't work the same anymore. Well, you can get pissed off about it all you want, but the people that are forcing you to update, whether you want to or not, they don't care. It's like, hey, we're moving in this direction. We're forcing everybody to update and you have to come along with us or your device isn't going to work anymore. Right? So essentially the same thing is happening in a collective or spiritual type of way. And so for those of us that are not resisting the collective change that we're all going through, then we have this to look forward to, right? The door to personal healing and happiness. Now, if you're resisting the changes that you may not entirely understand, and I'll be honest, I don't entirely understand them because we're not on the other side of them completely yet. We're still in the middle of these processes occurring and taking effect. So we're not going to completely understand them fully until we're on the far other side of them. But that doesn't mean that if you're tapped in and tuned in, that you won't have a spiritual awareness of understanding that they're going to apply to you. Okay. So this door to personal happiness and healing is essentially the universe's way of reassuring you, giving you a level of reassurance that the way things have been currently are not the way that they're going to continue to be in the future. So if you've been struggling financially, romantically, whatever your struggles have been in the last 4 years, this card is here as a promise from the universe saying, look, I know this transitional period has been very difficult. And we're not completely on the other side of it yet. But if you can ride the storm out, no pun intended for those who have literally just rode any storms out, but if you can ride the storm out, there is healing and happiness on the other side of this. And then look, the next card out is we have the door to value. So if I were to relate these cards to cards within the tarot, this would be the 10 of Pentacles and the 10 of Cups. It's like you're getting, all the things, your happiness, your fulfillment, your abundance, your wealth, your money. And then we have the World card here, which is similar to the World card in tarot, but it's essentially also saying that the world is your oyster, right? Like anything is possible for you now if you can embrace this spiritual reality, right? Spirituality, the word spiritual reality. If we break that into two words, spiritual reality, if you can embrace true spiritual reality, meaning that you are a spirit having a physical experience, or this is the reality in which your spirit came to experience, the spirit's reality in the 3D, right, in this dimension, as long as you can embrace what it is, during this period of time where you don't have a whole lot of control. There are things like we always get to choose, and we're always in control of how we respond to things that are out of our control. That's free will. So it doesn't matter what happens to you. It doesn't matter if your legs get blown off. It doesn't matter if somebody dies. It doesn't matter if you wake up tomorrow and you're paralyzed. It doesn't matter if you wake up tomorrow with a cancer diagnosis. Whatever happens to you. Right. And it's like, well, I didn't want this to happen to me. I don't feel like I deserve for this thing to happen to me. I didn't ask for this thing to happen to me. Right. It doesn't matter what happens to you. You still get to control your response to those things that have occurred. Right. That's your power. Your power is no matter what happens to me, I decide how I'm going to respond as a result of these things that are outside of my control. So the World card is reminding you of that. The World card here in this reading is essentially a reminder of you saying, hey, have you forgotten where your power is in the last 4 years? Because the last 4 years have been a shit show, right? And so it's easy to forget your spiritual capabilities, your spiritual powers, when your spiritual powers don't seem to be working the same way that they once did, right? Or things that you used to be able to do to get in a certain result, as I previously mentioned, are no longer working, right? And so you start to question yourself. You start to doubt yourself. You start to give your power away to things again. You lower the standard of who you are based on these experiences and factors outside of you, instead of leaning into them going, wait, just because things appear out of my ability, my scope, my power, and just because things are not going the way that I think they should be going right now, and just because we're living in this weird, bizarre Twilight Zone experience, doesn't mean that I have to change the core principles and philosophies of who I am as a spiritual being. In other words, I have to keep my power no matter what happens. As long as there's oxygen in my lungs, as long as that the spirit is inhabiting this avatar, I am here to exercise my power. And that's not control. That's not manipulation. That's not being an asshole. That's not being a narcissist. That's not being a tyrant or controlling other people. It's you controlling yourself. You having a power, authority, and control over you. I am the ruler of this. I am the leader and authority of my own life. It's my responsibility to use my free will in a way that empowers me. It's not my responsibility to use my free will to empower others, disempower others, or to allow myself to become a victim. Because if you fall into that trap, you're screwed. Which brings us to the Angel of Balance at the bottom of the deck, which is essentially in this deck's version of the Temperance card, right? So, what does that mean? Well, it means that when you are tempered, temperance is really about you understanding what true power is. So there's a book by, I think it's Richard Dawkins or David Hawkins, some Hawkins, but it's called Power versus Force. And if you read his book, he talks about this. What is the difference between power versus force? Well, you standing in your power is a good thing. Force is something else. Force is fear. Force is self-preservation. Force is low vibrational, right? Low vibrational energy. Power is high vibrational. It's you stepping into your power and owning yourself as a spiritual being having a physical experience. All right. So, so that's the message on that front. So let's take a look at, let's see and see what these cards want to say. In addition. Okay, so a lot of you guys have been dealing with some type of conflict in your life here. I mean, again, this could apply to all parts of your life, you know, career, money, love. Now, we do have true love here as well. So love is being highlighted. I do have a few career cards that I will pull before I end this reading. And then we have Behind a Mask, and it came out in reverse. And then, yeah, at the bottom of the deck, we have Status Quo. So this is, yeah, this message is super crystal clear. And I'm not going to repeat myself and waste time. But basically, for those of you who've been experiencing levels of conflict in your life, you're being asked to step back from the conflict and be reminded again of your power. Because all conflict is an opportunity to review something in our lives that is there either because it's out of alignment to us or there's a lesson. In other words, it's an opportunity for our growth and expansion. We experience conflict because it's like, hey, you can't exist here at this level anymore. You need to grow. You need to expand. You need to go up to the next level. Or you're experiencing conflict because you're trying to stay put. You're trying to remain in a place that's comfortable for you. And the universe is saying, you've outgrown it, right? You can't stay here forever. Like a toddler can't stay in diapers forever. Can't, drink from a bottle forever. Like eventually the 3-year-old that's in diapers is going to start growing up, whether it wants to or not. And it's going to learn to walk. It's got to learn to talk. It's got to learn to use the bathroom on its own. It's got to learn to evolve and grow as a creature, right? And so do we, but in a spiritual sense, right? So if whatever area of life that you're experiencing conflict in, the universe, God, source, universe, spirit, whatever you believe in, the message for you in this 1010 portal energy is for you to look at it through a new lens or a new type of awareness and identify where this conflict is. And you need to ask yourself one of two questions. Is this conflict the result of an area of my life that I'm refusing to evolve and grow and expand? because I'm just wanting to stay in my comfort zone. This is what I know. It's certain. It's my comfort zone. And I don't want to, move outside my comfort zone here. Or the other side of conflict. Is this conflict a lesson? Is there something that I need to learn here? This conflict is showing me something and I'm just misinterpreting it, because it's super easy to do. Anytime that we experience a negative feeling, a negative emotion, or we have a negative experience in life that creates a negative emotion within us, we have the tendency to go into our own self-preservation mode, and our ego kicks in, and then we become spiritually blind, meaning we stop evaluating or analyzing the situation or experience that we're having through the spiritual lens to really understand what the meaning and application of that experience is intended for our lives. In other words, how is this going to make me grow? How is this going to improve my life? What is the lesson here that I'm supposed to take away from this so that I can evolve, grow, expand, and move on and become a better version of myself? Or if you're going to use my terminology, I call it finding the treasure in the pile of shit. We're going through a season of shit. There's a pile of shit here. There's a pile of shit there. There's a pile of shit everywhere. But what we fail to realize is that inside that pile of shit that's gross, it's stinky, it's messy, it's disgusting, and nobody wants to, like when you take a shit, you flush the toilet. You don't, it's like we don't just leave shit literally just laying around. It's like it's a very particular process, right? Like when you take a crap, I'm being kind of disgusting right now, but this is the analogy that I'm being given. Right? It's a very specific situation. You go into the bathroom, you sit on the toilet, you do your business, and then you flush the turd, right? Like you dispose of the thing. Like you don't just, I got to go to the bathroom, so I'm going to take a shit in my bedroom or in my kitchen or on my floor or over here or over there. Like we're not animals. We don't just take a crap anywhere and everywhere just because we have the urge to take a crap. Right? There's a very specific process, right? Well, despite the grossness that we associate to the process of our body getting rid of waste, which is just a normal natural process, if you look at it, you take that concept and you apply the spiritual component to it, you understand that in all areas of life where there's pain, there's loss, betrayal, there's tragedy, there's uncertainty, there's challenges, there's obstacles, all the things that we don't like. Any type of experience that you're having in your life because you're a human being and you call that experience a negative or, I don't know, you categorize that experience as negative or undesirable. An undesirable experience. Any undesirable experience you have as a human being, there is a treasure in that experience. There's an opportunity for growth, for expansion, for learning, because you live in a dualistic reality that you cannot escape. We are all in a dualistic reality. You cannot have the good without having the bad. You cannot have the light without having the dark. That is the nature of all spirituality. And if you study mysticism or the occult or spirituality, and you go back and you look at the roots of this, that's what all this stuff comes from. All these things that you see when you look at if you're on YouTube and you watch tarot readings, you watch oracle readings, and you watch all these spiritual people using their cards, all this stuff. This is just the modernized version. And it's actually, in my opinion, a more superficial version of a much, much deeper and profound system of understanding that is not explained or hardly ever explained in modern spirituality or modern spiritual practices. People don't talk about where this came from, why it exists, right? Or the laws or the mechanics behind it that will actually give you power. Because if you had the power over your life and your existence, then you wouldn't be coming here to watch tarot readings 24/7. And that's not good for tarot business, right? Like if my life depends on you being a subscriber and coming and watching my videos 24/7, because you always need to know what's happening, because you're like, okay, what's going to happen next? What's going to happen next? Is my person going to come back? Is this going to happen? Am I going to get the job? all of that is powerlessness. And so what you end up doing is you give your power away to divination or psychics or tarot cards. You give your power away in these things because you feel powerless to create these outcomes. So you're just sitting around waiting and wondering, well, what's going to happen next? What's going to happen next? What's going to happen next? Instead of you owning your power and creating what's going to happen next. That's the difference, right? And that's how you can identify whether you are a powerless spiritual being that's giving your power away to, people that, you have to go watch a tarot reading 24/7 to figure out, well, what's going to happen next? What's going to happen next? What's going to happen next? Like, well, if you were creating your own reality, you wouldn't be worried about what's going to happen next. You would be too busy creating it. You would be taking responsibility for it. You would be stepping into your power that you've been given as a spiritual being, with gifts, talents, abilities, a purpose, and all these things. You would be walking in that power and creating your reality, not sitting around wondering what's going to happen, who's going to come back, all these kinds of things. Now, that's not to say that these cards do not have, or this art rather, the cards are just pictures, but the art of spirituality does not have a place or a use or a benefit, just like forecasting the weather, right? There's a benefit in knowing, hey, the weather's going to be bad tomorrow. Hey, it's going to be like this tomorrow. Weather forecasting has its benefits. Energetic forecasting through these mediums that we call cards is also beneficial, but only to the extent at which you haven't completely given your power away to it, right? So that's the conflict card. All right. The conflict card has to do with what areas in your life are you experiencing conflict, and are those conflicts empowering you or disempowering you, right? Are you learning a lesson? Or have you realized that maybe this conflict in your life is there to show you that you're no longer aligned with that thing? Person, place, thing, job, doesn't matter. So now we're moving on to true love. So the conflict could be related to love. It could be related to anything. But for those of you specifically and individually who have been wondering about your love life, wondering about partnership, love is on the way. Okay, but there is a secondary message, and this is the more important message. Again, goes back to you. Where's your power within your love life? Are you waiting for someone to come riding in to rescue you on the white horse? Are you waiting for a hero, a rescuer? Are you waiting for someone to come and prove to you that you're good enough and worthy enough and all of that? Or are you providing yourself with the love that you are? Because you are the universe, you are God. God is love. There is nothing inside of you that isn't from the divine source that we call love. Now, we've watered it down. We've made it more superficial. We've humanized that term to make it mean a lot of things. We've disempowered it in a lot of ways because in the English language, we have one word, which is called love. In other languages, they have multiple words with multiple meanings that describe the multifaceted layers of what love is. I mean, are we talking about superficial love, like I love ice cream, or are we talking about a supreme, divine, ultimate force and power, right? Like, well, in the English language, we don't have that ability. We just have the word love. And so it loses its power, in my opinion. So the true meaning here, and look, if you look at this card, you'll see this side of the card, we're looking at the back of this woman, right? But on here, we can see it's almost like she's looking in a mirror. There's like this weird portal, this vortex. There's this mirror, and she sees her reflection in the mirror. She sees herself. And to me, that's the tell-all. I mean, that's the definition of the card, is until you understand where you stand within the love, where you stand with the love that exists within you, then you're not going to understand or receive the love that you desire that could come from outside of you. Okay, and you might have to rewind and to replay what I just said to hear it, to really let that sink in. Because again, we do everything backwards. We want love, so we go outside of ourselves to find it instead of going, wait a minute, that's the backwards way of doing it. We've been taught that's the way that we need to do it because that's, how most of us were raised, to depend on our parents for love, depend on our parents for our worthiness, all of that kind of stuff. And then we grow up, and then, we rely upon we rely upon our friends to tell us, or our community, or our teachers at school, and then our boyfriends, our girlfriends, our husbands, and our wives. And then when we have children, we even project our desire for love and connection onto our children, right? We start to serve our children in such a way to where we want our children to now validate our goodness or our good enoughness as human beings, right? It's this crazy thing that we do if we're unconscious of it. And that's us giving our power away. That's us saying, hey, I don't have that within me, so I need to receive it from a source outside of me. And if I am dependent upon a source outside of me to receive it, I'm screwed because I can only control me. And that's spirituality 101. Spirituality 101 is you are everything that you need. You are your authority. You are your provider. You are your protector. You are your need meter, like what, like you are the source from which anything and everything that you need, you have all the source and all the things within you. That's why the very first card in tarot is the Magician card, right? As the Magician, you have all the tools and resources you need. You have everything already. And the card just before that, which is the Zero card, is the Fool. And the Fool is spirit. Now, a lot of tarot readers don't go deep into the meaning of that card, but that's what this Fool is. The Fool is spirit. It's infinite possibilities. It's nothingness. It is just pure spirit without form, which is why it's infinite possibilities, which is why it's the Fool. The Fool steps onto the path of its journey, knowing that it can do and be and become and create whatever it wants. That's why step one is coming into the form of the Magician. Before you can start out on your spiritual journey, or in this case, before you can live out or flesh out your experience as a spiritual being having a physical experience, you need to know what it is that you are. Because if you don't know what the fuck you are, then you're sure not going to know what you are meant to be in this life, right? And that's why there's so much confusion in the world. That's why we have an identity crisis. That's why there's even a reason or a need for what we call a spiritual awakening. You wouldn't need to have a spiritual awakening if there was no need to be awakened to something, right? So the very fact that we go through these things called awakenings is because there is something to awaken to, right? So this card, before we jump off into the information and knowledge that most people want to know about, is like, well, who's coming towards me? And is it the past person, a new love? Before we just jump straight into the scratching the itch of our desire, which is what most people do when they listen to a tarot reading. They look at on YouTube. Maybe you're subscribed to your favorite readers, and then they post a reading with a certain title, and the title jumps out to you, like, oh my gosh. And so you want to click the reading because it's like somebody's going to come in. This new love person's coming back, or whatever the title is, and it pulls you in. Because you've been waiting. I've been waiting for this. I've been waiting for love to arrive. Well, what Spirit is saying is you're going to keep waiting because you're not learning the lesson. Hence the conflict card, right? Which I'm not going to go back and I'm not going to explain that. But you're going to keep waiting for true love until you learn the lesson. What is the lesson? The lesson is until you realize that you are the love that you need for you, and you embrace the love that you are, you will not find the love that you desire. Instead, what you will most likely attract are more failures, more betrayals, more losses, and more disappointments that are used as lessons and catalysts for you to then revert back to this step. In other words, you have to keep going back around the mountain and learn the same lesson again and again and again and again, because you're not learning the lesson here. You're not listening to the guy on YouTube that's trying to help you find your power versus everybody else who's just telling you that someone's going to come back and, this new lover is going to come in, this past lover is going to come in, and you get all excited and you're waiting for, the right person to either come back or the new person to come in to provide you something that you're meant to provide for yourself. Because if you're relying on somebody else outside of you to give it to you, then you are not in your spiritual power. You are in your spiritual poverty. You are a powerless person. You are not the magician. Spiritual people who understand and resonate with these types of messages, the intention of these types of messages are for people who resonate with a desire and an understanding of stepping into your spiritual power. It doesn't mean that you've done it. Doesn't mean that you've mastered it. Doesn't mean that you're good at it. It doesn't mean that you're accomplishing it. It just means that you understand it. You know that this is true. You're like, what this man is saying to me, and I don't care if you like me or my presentation or my style or not. I'm just the messenger. But you're here, you're listening, you're watching this. What this man is saying to me resonates with me on my spirit. And if you find yourself as one of those people, then that's what the message is. Because this isn't from me, this is through me. The message is coming through me because these are just cards with words on them. Like, how much can you say? How much explanation can you give to a picture with some words on it? It's not me that's giving these explanations, and I'm certainly not using the book that came with these cards to explain them. That's why these cards come with books, because otherwise they would just be pictures, they'd be artwork, right, with words on them, and people are like, well, what the hell does this mean? I don't know, right? But when you transcend all of that and you leave yourself open to become a messenger, then you don't need a book. The cards carry their own messages as, your spirit, the power of your spirit operates through you. And we all have that ability. So here we are with the status quo in reverse. And this is actually a good thing. Oh, not status quo, behind the mask. Status quo is here. I'm sorry. So there's a twofold meaning in this card, in this message for you guys. So the first one is to become aware again of these other two energies here. Become aware of the things in your life that are not in alignment with you. Become aware of where you are giving your power, what you're giving your power to, or where you're losing your power, where you're giving your power away to, right? Whatever, however you want to word that. Become aware of the fake shit in your life that you've tolerated, that you've not really looked at or acknowledged the way that you need to. Just being real with yourself, right? Are you being honest, true, and real with yourself? Are you looking at yourself and going, hey, there's some shit in my life that if I was being completely 100% honest with me, I'd have to call myself out on this and go, man, I know that I'm tolerating poor behavior. I know that I'm tolerating toxic relationships. I know that I'm tolerating ABC and XYZ in my life, and I need to stop tolerating it, right? So, and in essence, the energy of behind the mask is a metaphor. Is you need to stop hiding behind the fake reality that you're hiding behind. You need to be true to yourself and stop, taking it up the butt, so to speak, from experiences and things in your life that are not in alignment with you. Like if something is not in alignment with you and your highest good, then why are you allowing it to exist in your life? And I get life is complex sometimes, right? Like, I don't know, let's say you have kids with a toxic ex. And it's like, well, I can't get rid of my toxic ex because I'm bound to him because we have kids together. Okay, I get it. There are certain things in life where you can't just be completely remove certain people, situations, and circumstances out of your life. However, you always have the power to have boundaries and determine what level of access those things have with you, and the level of access or the power that you give those things to penetrate you, and the way that you allow those things to shape you as a human being, right? So again, like most people, for example, if they have a negative experience, instead of allowing the negative experiences they have to strengthen them into becoming a better human being, they allow those experiences to weaken them. So now they become the very types of people who abuse and hurt them. So the person who never wanted to be cheated on now becomes a cheater. The person who never wanted to be abused now becomes the abuser. You see what I'm saying? Pain, the pain that is projected or paid forward to other people, those people who become hurt start hurting other people. That's where we get the term hurt people hurt people. It's also the term healed people heal people. So the people who are doing all of the healing work, the spiritual healers, most of those people have a really effed up past. They have a traumatic past. They've gone through a lot of terrible things. It's just they didn't allow those negative things to define who they are or who they became. Whereas, unfortunately, most people don't do that. Most people get hurt and they allow those negative experiences to define them. And so the bitterness, the unforgiveness, the resentment, the rage, the anger, all of that stuff festers within them until they become the monsters, or they become like the monsters who once hurt them. And that's essentially what we know as a generational curse. It's not really a curse. It's not a magic spell. It's just a group of people who were hurt, and so they hurt somebody else, and then that person became a monster. They hurt somebody else, and then that person became a monster, and they hurt somebody else, and it keeps going and going and going and going until finally somebody in the history of that lineage or that generation stands up and says, no more. I am not going to become one of those. You can hurt me all you want to, but I will never become you. I'm not going to pay this forward. I'm going to heal from it. I'm going to take control of my own life, and I'm going to go a different direction. That's where the generational curses break. So, besides the point, the behind the mask, if you're being untrue to yourself, then the universe is going to continue to send you the same. You will get what you are. You will get what you attract. If you're being dishonest, you're being untrue to yourself, then the universe is going to continue to send you people that are untrue and unjust to you, right? But there's also a level of spiritual awareness here. There's a warning here. The universe is saying, hey, you need to become more aware than normal, because there is an abundance of fake people hiding things right now. So you need to become aware of people and their intentions during this time. All right. So it's a twofold message. Become aware of people's lies, deception, deceit, betrayal, but become aware of your own lies, deception, deceit, and betrayal. And for some of you, going back to the crown chakra card and your spiritual journey, your spiritual calling, for some of you, it's time to take the mask off. For some of you, it's time to come out of the closet. For some of you who, you know, all this woo-woo spiritual stuff and tarot readings and tarot cards, it's like, that's something that you hide from people. You know, that's what you do. Nobody else knows about you, right? Like, you're not public about this part of yourself, but it's a passion of yours. It's something that you're very passionate about. You're drawn to, right? And the universe is calling you out and saying, hey, I know it's really scary, but it's time for you to come out of the closet. It's your coming out party. It's time for you to come out of the closet and embrace who you really are, because now is your time. Like, you literally incarnated and you're literally alive right now, and your whole life has led you up to this point for you to take your spiritual mask off and to step out into the world and start using your spiritual gifts and talents more publicly, because that's the time that we're entering. Pluto moving into Aquarius is a whole new time with a whole new world. It's a whole new paradigm, and the people aren't ready for it. If anything that the last 4 years have shown us between 2020 and present, if anything has been made apparent to us all, it's that the general population, the unawakened population, is not ready for this shit. Hence why you, me, and all of us are here. We are the ones who are supposed to hold their hand and help them walk into this new reality that's being served. It just is what it is. Whether you like it or you don't like it, doesn't matter. It's here. So we only have one choice, and it's to embrace the change. And so some of you know that you have a calling, a spiritual calling, and you've been avoiding it because it's scary, it's impractical, you're afraid of being judged, you're afraid of what people are going to think about you, all the things. And I'm human, I get it, I'm the same. And I've slowly but surely been working through that in my own life. So no judgment from me. All right. So what do we need to surrender? And then what do we need to know? I'm just going to pull some quick messages and we're going to close out this reading. So the major things that we need to focus on surrendering collectively. Okay. So the first card that just fell out, it says surrender to prayer. It says, give yourself over completely to prayer, whatever that means for you. Doesn't mean it has to be religious prayer. You don't have to pray to Jesus or God or whatever. It's just whatever that means to you is what prayer is. So however you define prayer is completely fine. So there's that. So give yourself over completely to prayer. When you pray from your heart, that's the key word here, you will be heard throughout the universe, and answers and support will arrive. Yeah, so it's basically just saying, it's about manifestation, essentially. Prayer is just a form of manifestation. What else do we need to surrender to? Surrender your need to always be right. Yeah, so this is about the ego. Don't get caught into egotistical battles, especially now that it's election season. And my God, for fuck's sake, for the love of anything in fucking humanity, if there's one thing that I cringe about, it's politics. The idiocy, the lunacy, the ridiculousness of how something that's so full of shit, which is politicians, I should say, the whole spectrum of politicians and politics is such bullshit. It's such a fraud. It's such a gimmick. It's so, the whole thing is just ridiculous. And people get so caught up into it, and they're willing to destroy friendships, destroy families. They're willing to destroy anything and everything because they have a political view. And once they subscribe to that political view or whatever tribalism thing that you're subscribed to, it's like, that's it. There's no level of thinking. It's like you're completely brainwashed. You're not even a functional human being. You've sold your soul to something. You're just a programmed, robot that's parroting the beliefs and all the shit from that whole thing. So this card is just saying wherever you're experiencing this obstacle in your life, you need to surrender it. Surrender your need to always be right. The card says, give others the gift of letting them be right. Imagine that. Imagine allowing somebody else to have a point of view that differs from your own. Be yielding and not rigid. This will help resolve conflicts and improve your relationships. Self-explanatory. All right, one more. One more from this, and then we'll get the final messages here. Surrender stubbornness. Yeah, you can't like have surrender your need to always be right, but also be stubborn at the same time. So it says surrender stubbornness. If you're tensing up or taking a rigid stance, that word's here twice now. So we saw that word here in this card, and we're hearing it now. So if you're very rigid, you're very stubborn, you need to be right all the time, then the universe is calling you out. If you're tensing up or taking a rigid stance about something, gently observe yourself and become more yielding. This will help you communicate more lovingly with others and yourself. Right. And so if you've taken anything away from this collective reading, especially with this conflict energy and the way that I explained this conflict energy, is the importance of our ability to learn lessons through contrasting experiences, which means people. So when you meet people who don't think the way that you think, vote the way you vote, believe what you believe, instead of becoming threatened by it or butthurt by it, there's an opportunity for you to learn. It's like, I'll give you an example. If the entire world existed based upon me and what I wanted and my beliefs, we'd be screwed. I'm not intelligent enough. I'm not smart enough. My gifts, my talents, my beliefs, my worldview is not, it's not differentiated enough to keep, to allow this world to exist in a functional place. In other words, we need differences. Differences are good. We need people that think differently than us. We need people that don't think like we think. We need people who think a different way. We need people who have a different perception. You know, like if the world, the existence of the world was put on my shoulders, we wouldn't have iPhones, we wouldn't have technology, we wouldn't have this, we wouldn't have a lot of shit. The world would be a really, 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 really terrible existence if everybody had to be an identical replica of me. The same thing with you, the watcher that's listening to this. If this world was just replicating a bunch of yous, then the world couldn't exist. So we need variety. We need differences. And sure, that also includes people that we disagree with. There are people who you will never understand. You'll never understand why they think the way they think, why they believe what they believe. You'll never understand why they vote the way they vote. You'll never understand it. You need to just learn to let that shit go and understand that it's just part of living in a dualistic reality, right? That's why opposites exist. We live in a duality. It's just it's a spiritual law. It is what it is. At the bottom of the deck, we have surrender to drama. Self-explanatory. All right, so let's take a look really quick at money and career to close out the reading. So if you've been wondering about money and career finances, you've been struggling with that, this is like, we'll just call it a separate or a mini message, you know, because this is really more collective. Like the purpose of this message, this reading that I've been doing is more about you, the power that you have. Spirituality, your spirit's responsibility in this reality to create the outcomes that you desire, right? It's your contribution in this incarnation as we share this collective, because you're not the only person in this reality. I'm not the only person in this reality. We're in a shared environment, right? So we all have our responsibility in the playground to make the whole thing work. And if I'm operating in my power and you're operating in your power, then we'll get the best outcome, right? And that requires faith. It requires faith, but it also requires for me to focus more on myself than I focus on you. Because if I spend most of my time focused on you and what I think you should be doing to make my life better or make my reality better, that's bullshit. And the universe is going to step in and is going to correct me or going to correct you for having that mentality, because that's not how it works. It's not my responsibility to make your reality better any more than it is your responsibility to make my reality better. My responsibility is for me to take responsibility for myself. And as I take responsibility for myself, it has a quantum effect. When I become a better person, then the world around me will become better because I became better. When you become better and you raise your vibration, then you participate in raising the vibration of the collective as well. And anybody that understands true spirituality knows and understands this. And that's what this is all about. That's what this whole reading is about. So, lastly, for those of you that have been wondering about money, career, and all of that, this is just a side reading. And then I'll pull a couple of cards for love. And then I'm going to end the reading. So we do have the beginning card here, and I'll read it to you in just a second. Or actually, I'll try to read it while I'm shuffling here. It says, it's a good time to start a new job or a whole new career. You have creative ideas that get noticed. Build a nest egg for the future. So for some of you, this new beginning energy applies. For some of you, it's not. All right. So you'll have to use your own spiritual intuition to know if that applies to you or not. I feel like for the majority of people, like 80 to 90% of people, I would probably wait until the new year. Once all the election crap is finalized and we kind of know which direction we're moving in. And it doesn't matter if you live in the US or not, because the United States election has a ripple effect. But nevertheless, for the majority of people, making major changes right now may not be the best time. All right, so the next card we have is Independence. It says it's time to go out on your own and create your own business or try something well outside your comfort zone, which is everything that I said about that status quo card here at the bottom of the deck, right? In the behind the mask energy, right? So these two cards are really, these two cards are tied together. I didn't really talk a whole lot about the status quo. It's self-explanatory. This is when we're just living the mundane life. Like this, every day is the same, and we're spiritually unfulfilled because we know every day is the same because we're not living our spiritual destiny. We've settled. We're settling for the status quo. And the reason that we're settling for the status quo is because we're afraid to come out from behind our mask and embrace our true power and our true spiritual destiny, our true spiritual gifts. And so that's what this Independence card is all about. It's like saying, hey, it's time for you to step out of your comfort zone and go for the things you want. All right, so the next card out, or the last card we have, is Looking. And it says, it's okay to look for better work. Be discreet in your search. You need to be aligned with your life purpose to be fully satisfied. So again, another card indicating that, hey, look, it's okay for you to search for something that's going to fulfill you, but you need to prioritize whatever you're looking for. You need to make the priority about your calling in life and not about the money or your security. Because if you take a job, for example, or you pick a job or you pick a career where maybe you make more money, but you're miserable because you're not passionate about it, the money is not worth the misery. I'm going to say that again. The money is not worth the misery. You know, having more material, having a bigger number in your bank account at the expense of your spiritual or soul's fulfillment is just not worth it. And that's what this card is saying. But that's a free will decision that you have to make. Nobody can make that for you. All right. So, all right. For those of you wondering about love and romance, what final messages do you have for the collective for this 10-10 reading? Okay, we have the Knight of Cups. So, now it did come out sideways. So basically, it could go either way. Some of you have new love coming towards you. Some of you are staying in toxic relationships you need to leave. And some of you just have a negative mindset. Some of you are just like, well, love is never going to happen. There's no good people out there anymore. The last 10 people that I've been in relationships with, they lied to me, they cheated on me, they did this, they did that, blah, blah, blah. So I give up. Love is bullshit. So there's negativity and positivity. On the positive side of this card, it's saying, yeah, love is there's love. For those of you that are looking for love, you have an opportunity in the near future before the year is up to meet somebody. Now, what happens as a result is up to you. That's the other side of the energy. Where's your mindset? Because if you're in a negative mentality and a mindset, then you're just going to attract more negativity into your life. The next card we have is the Six of Pentacles, which is a good energy when it's upright because it's about generosity. It's about equal give and take. So it's a balanced relationship. All right, let me get one more card. And I also just noticed that at the bottom of the deck, before I started shuffling it, was the Six of Cups. So some of you guys have a past person coming back, or you might meet a new person that you feel a past life connection with. Okay, no sooner did I just say that, we have Judgment. So some of you definitely have a past person coming back, looking for a second chance. They want a second shot at this. And for the other side of you, that doesn't apply to, this is you using your judgment, your discernment to decide what it is that you want moving forward. In other words, have you learned, or what have you learned? Because Judgment is a card of evaluation. In other words, It's the culmination of all of your life experiences, right? What have you learned all the way up to this point in your life? What have all your previous relationships taught you? What clarity do you have? What insights do you have? What knowledge do you have, right? You have to apply that knowledge to have a different outcome. You can't just keep unconsciously having relationships. If you keep getting into relationships unconsciously, you're going to keep going around the same mountain, right? The definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting a different result. That's what unconscious living or unconscious awareness will get you. You'll just keep doing the same things, going, well, I don't understand why I keep having the same experience. Because you're not learning. You're not using your judgment. You're not evaluating yourself. You're not taking inventory. You haven't learned those lessons. So for some of you, you have a past person coming back. For others of you, you need to use judgment. You need to learn from the lessons of your past, apply that knowledge to your future to get a different outcome than you've gotten before. And at the bottom of the deck, you can't make this shit up. This is the silver lining. If you do that, if you listen to the advice, you will have the 10 of Cups, which is the most love that two human beings can experience. This is it. This is the ultimate love card, the 10 of Cups. So if you listen to the advice, then yeah, a lot of you guys, on one hand of the energy, you're going to be meeting the love of your life. This is your end all be all. This is your ride or die. And for those of you on the other side, if you learn from your past lessons and you make new decisions and new choices, then you also have an opportunity and a chance of meeting your ride or die or finding the love of your life. But if you don't, then you won't. Okay. So, that's the 1010 portal reading that I have for you. And again, if you haven't already, I would greatly appreciate it if you would like, share, and subscribe to my channel. I appreciate all of you. And as always, love and light.